The beatific peace of the countryside. Glorious, isn't it? And it's also the perfect terrain for 4x4s. Standard survival kit for any would-be adventurer. Come to think of it, anyone on the school run.
And not to mention those who have to make their living off the land. If you haven't got a four-wheel drive with low transmission, at best you're uncool, and at worst you get stuck and have to be towed out. Whoa!
But there's some terrain even the best 4x4 struggles to deal with. This week's challenge is a beastie made for the white stuff. Sweden's answer to the 4x4, the active snow Trac, an Arctic off-roader from the 1950s. But what's this ageing Viking doing in a leafy lane in Leicester?
Do you like driving in my car?
Oh, Claire. I said no more cheesy musical references, thank you very much.
Here we go, our house. In the city.
And hopefully our friend Bob's going to be here.
Hello.
Hi there,
Hello.
Bob.
I believe you've got something in the garage for us.
Yes, through that door there.
So we are the garage inspectors.
Ooh.
Ho-ho.
What a mess.
Jeez, Bob. This is taking a bit of a bashing.
Bob, the owner of this Trac midget, is a full-time fireman and has done a good bit of restoration in his time, including this wonderful American Ford fire engine. But in restoration terms, the little snow Trac is a far bigger job, as Claire is finding out.
Well, these Tracs have certainly seen better days. And the wheel that drives it is all loose and horrible. There's a massive gouge on the other side. There is absolutely no way that this is going on any Arctic expedition for some time. Look at the state of it. The chassis is so pitted, it's unbelievable. There are holes towards the back. What a state.
So, Bob, the first question has to be, what does a man living in sunny Leicestershire need with a snow Trac?
Well, we had an inch of snow about 3 years ago.
And you've been worried ever since?
Yes.
So what is it specifically about a snow Trac that appeals to you?
When I was a child, I had one of these Matchbox models.
So you saw this as a kid, and it sparked a lifelong dream.
Yeah, an ambition to have one, and I finally got it. I found it on eBay. I've been looking for one for a while, and it came up, so I went for it.
And how much, if you don't mind me asking, did that one cost?
About £500.
£500? So, Bob, if we can get it looking as lovely as your little model here, what plans do you have for it? I don't see many mountains around here, mate.
I'd like to find a snow-covered mountain, go to the top and have a cup of tea at the top.
Have you ever driven one up a mountain before?
No, I've never driven one, full stop.
That's the spirit. So, Bob, you've certainly set us a bit of a challenge here, but I'm hoping we can live up to it. Claire, what do you reckon?
Oh, it's in such a state.
Do you think it's beyond hope?
No, it's never beyond hope. Got to give it a go.
Well, Bob, here's the deal. We're going to take it away from you and hopefully restore it to its former glory, but you won't be able to see it until it's done.
Okay.
All right?
That's the deal.
Great.
I look forward to it. Be a dream come true.
Well, hopefully the next time you see it, we'll meet on some snowy mountain cap somewhere.
I'll look forward to it.
And she'll be the queen of the glen once again. Well, Claire, there's no time to waste. You might as well start loading it up.
Oh, not so fast, singer boy. We're going to load it up, and then you can go.
Well, I'm certainly no expert in loading things onto trailers, but with an inch to spare on either side, I'd say that went swimmingly well.
Mind you, I've still got to tie it on. 2 hours later, with the sun well over the yard arm, we were finally ready to roll.
Oh, that's all loaded up, Claire. That's the hardest I've ever worked.
I'm saying nothing. Right, I'm off to the restorer's workshop.
Great. Well, I've got the original instruction book here with a serial number in it, so I'm off in the opposite direction to see if I can find out a little bit more about our snow Trac.
See you later.
See you later.
The next day, and I'm on the trail for some information.
In the manual, it says that the snow Trac, or weasel, to call it by its nickname, was invented by a chap called Lars Larsen, who owned a hunting lodge in the wilds of Sweden.
The manual goes on to say Lars Larsen was fed up of having to don his skis to get to his place in the country. So he invented the snow Trac. A truly Arctic vehicle that could be handled by any Olaf capable of driving a Volvo. But the question that's bothering me is, how did a winter vehicle for lazy Swedes end up in a garage in Leicester? To find out this and hopefully much more, I thought I'd head north to Scotland, where the snow track really was king of the glen.
But where'd you go to fix a snow track? You head south and west to Devon to find a true man of the land. Not scared to get down and dirty on the farm, this week's man with the spanners, Tom Hendy, manages to supplement the milk quota by preening up some of the most beautiful classic cars in the world. He's that perfect mix of hardcore can-do engineering and the polished perfection that we'll need to bring our snow track back to life. It's too heavy. There's so much rust, but it's still incredibly heavy.
That would have lightened her up a bit.
Oh, got it.
Here we go.
Hey!
And again.
But what will he make of our Viking off-roader, apart from the fact that it's very heavy?
I think we're going to have to look a little deeper on this one. I really do.
It's full of potential, though.
It is full of potential, I grant you that.
And rust.
Potential in the bits where it isn't rusty.
After the break, Tom and Claire strip our snow track down.
Oh dear.
And try and start her up.
On your hip here. Top.
But as they do so, they find a few nasty surprises.
Look at that. Not supposed to be like that.
Whose battered remains have wound up in a flat and leafy Leicestershire village. Our hope is that soon she'll be setting track in the snows once more. But there are two things standing in our way.
I think we're going to have to look a little deeper.
It's full of potential.
And rust.
Claire and our restorer Tom Hendy are going to have to do a lot of work. And I'm going to have to find not just a mountain, but a mountain with some snow. So whilst I'm heading for the frozen wastes, the grease monkeys in sunny Devon are about to start the big strip
It
down.
just speaks for itself.
It does,
But
it does. Well,
it's achievable, I think.
it is. It's aluminium bodywork at the top, which doesn't corrode, and it's fairly straight. So really, that's not a big problem. What we've got to do is we're going to have to get down here and find out what the chassis is up to.
Yeah.
Which, at first glance, looks pretty grim, I'm afraid. It's pretty corroded. It really is. That we're going to have to get the bodywork off and find out what we find out. But when we do,
Do you want to have a look at the power
that's
bit?
the other bit.
Oh,
One engine, one...
I mean, it's complete. No one's taken it apart.
It's all there.
No one's fiddled with it. For all its butch exterior, the snow track is little more than a tracked go-kart. The power comes from an air-cooled VW engine. Forward of the engine is the gearbox, which powers 4 large sprockets to drive the tracks. The suspension is in the form of guide wheels mounted on leaf springs, connected to the simple box-section chassis. The only complex bit is the steering system, which allows the tracks to be controlled by a steering wheel, just like a normal road car. But even the most simple of machines can throw up some problems once you strip them down. So it's out with the gas torch and goodbye to the bodywork. Oh, yeah. Now the bodywork's off, we can take a look at the mechanics. Right, Tom, should we start taking this lot apart?
Let's start the engine before we start getting it apart, shall we?
Oh, I don't like the idea of
I
that.
think we should. We don't do it now. We do everything else. We put the engine in, and it doesn't work, and we've got to take it all out again.
I know, but you...
There's a risk. I mean, there's a load of risks.
this
but,
is such an unknown quantity.
It is, but I mean, it can only go bang.
It can only go bang. It's the only engine we've got. Now, this isn't just any old VW engine. It's actually what VW call their industrial engine. And you know what that means. Difficult to get hold of and at great expense. So if it blows, Tom had better be ready to foot the bill.
Okay.
If it works, it was my idea, but...
Okay. Right.
All that stands between triumph and destruction is a temporary petrol tank and a fully charged battery.
Ooh.
She wants to go.
It does, doesn't it?
Shall I give her a bit more?
Let's just see what happens here.
Oh, But she wants to go.
She wants, she goes.
That's terrifying.
She
Did
goes.
you see the steering wanting to turn as well?
No, I was busy with that. Beautiful, wonderful. She works.
See, I told you we should start the engine.
I knew you'd be right on that one.
With things purring away down south, I'm feeling pretty pleased with myself too. Not only have I found a place called Scotland, which has plenty of mountains and snow, but also, hidden in the back pages of the manual, I've found an interesting name and address. If my map reading's any good, I should be nearing a place called Crieff, which is the home of Alex McClarty, the man who first imported these strange beasties to our shores from Sweden.
OK, Sargs, stop your gloating. It's all going smoothly here. That was until we heard a strange rattling from within. Look at that. It's not supposed to be like that. Well,
It's
look at
badly
it.
damaged.
It's not just broken in one place
It's
either.
irreparable, I would say.
So what's that? Is that the shaft
That's
that
the
carries...
sprocket carrier, I think we'll call it, because it carries the sprockets, funnily enough. But that bit there,
That's
the
that
fit
bit
in
there.
there, like...
Because that transfers the drive to all the tracks.
Yep. And any sort of strain, clearly, I mean, that's gone bang, smashed around in here.
This sprocket carrier transfers the power of the engine to the sprockets at the front of the vehicle, biting into the tracks and moving the snow track backwards or forwards. So, without the carrier, we won't be getting to the top of the mountain. Tom, I've got no idea about spare parts for this thing, but someone out there's going to know, won't
Someone
they?
will.
Shall I go and make a few phone calls?
Do you know what the Swedish for sprocket hub carrier is?
ST53JN it's got written
Ask
on it.
for one of them.
Caught past the bug or what? I just got a call from Claire saying she's desperate for spare parts. But have no fear, Suggs is here, and hopefully my next port of call will provide. The home of Alex McClarty, the importer of snow tracks. In the 1960s, the UK was in the grip of a succession of hard winters. Being the wily Scotsman that he is, McClarty spotted a gap in the market. A vehicle that would go anywhere in the harshest of winters. Over the next 20 years, he imported 400 snow tracks. Here we are, Snow Track Control Centre. Because they were never a road vehicle, there's no logbook, only a serial number. With any luck, Mr. McClarty should be able to tell us who originally bought the snow track based on that number. You never know. It might have gone somewhere posh, like Her Majesty's place at Balmoral.
And what's going on at the moment in this film?
That's the first snow track that came into this country, and that's it being tested and demonstrated.
And do you still remember the feeling seeing this?
Oh yes, indeed, yes. Yeah, we could hardly believe our luck in finding such a suitable vehicle for what we had quite a big requirement for at that time. That was in January 1961.
Do you remember the thrill of the first time you saw
Oh
it?
yeah, very much so. I've never lost the thrill of being in these things. Because just, you know, going over that ground and achieving something that nothing else could at that time.
Must have been an exciting moment.
Very much indeed, yeah.
Was there an alternative before the snow track? I mean, what would people do if they were completely snowbound?
Dig and walk was the only way. Oh, it's horses sometimes. Sometimes you'd get on horseback.
For 26 years, between 1955 and 1981, over 2,000 of these snow beasties were produced. It was one of Sweden's export success stories, as over 3/4 of them went overseas, some as far as Japan. So popular were they that they even made a convertible. But the million-dollar question is, can Alex tell us where ours went?
Well, what I have here is the instruction book for our snow track, which actually has a manufacturing serial number. Do you think you'll be able to trace it from that?
Yeah, I think we could, yeah.
Excellent. Where do we start?
So, in what part of snowy Scotland did our snow track live out its heroic life? Is the number 1624 etched into the history books for acts of bravery in times of adversity? Is it indeed the master of the Scottish mountain?
Hey, hold on.
1624.
1624, excellent.
Date of purchase, August 1973, and it went to Easton.
What part of the wild Highlands is that?
And that's not in the Highlands this time, it's near Norwich.
It's in Norwich.
It's in the far south.
Oh dear. It seems that once the English got to know about the snow track, they imported them to work on their farms and moorland. But they had one fatal flaw. They just weren't strong enough to deal with the rough ground. which got me thinking. Does Mr. McClarty know of a snow track we can strip for its parts? Preferably down south.
You need a complete one, would you?
Yes.
Yeah. That's just possible. Down that, the better down that area with it.
The further south the better, really. Yeah.
The better, yeah, there's one down. I'll show you where. I think there's one that's available. There you go.
Devon Ways.
Yeah, Devon Ways. It's there.
Marvellous.
Yeah. Near that.
Oh, that's very exciting. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you've been a great help. Thank you very much indeed.
I don't. Thank you.
Cheers.
Back in Devon, and Tom's hard at it getting the engine out. The idea being to get the snow track stripped right down to its chassis before they begin the restoration proper. I'd better phone Claire with the good news.
You're joking. You found a snow track in South Devon? And it's got the bit we need on it? And we can have it? Excellent. All right, I'll get on to it. I'll see you later. Bye. Oh,
What's that about? That fallen tree?
I don't know. I'm just concentrating on the driving at the moment.
I'm glad to hear
This
it.
is so slippery. The snow track Suggs has found us was used as a farm vehicle until it hit one rock too many and fractured its chassis. Sadly, it's a slightly different model than ours, which might mean that it's not the perfect spare parts shop that we want it to be. The trouble is, before we can even get at it, there's an awful lot of pruning to be done.
It's all here.
Does it look all right, Tom?
Yeah, it does.
Does anyone... No one's had that bit, though.
Nope, that's still there.
Let's get at it.
I think we've got to remove a tree.
There's an awful lot of wildlife around here.
Yes, let's go anyway.
Get the chainsaw out.
Yes, look at that. Well done, that'll do. That's excellent.
The bit we're after is hidden behind this drive assembly.
So we get before I get to the really good.
This is no easy task. First the tracks have to come off and then the sprockets.
And we got it. This is what we want.
It's only then we realise how difficult it's going to be to get out. So we've decided to attack it with my favourite tool. We like the gas axe. The gas axe is good. Keeps us warm when we're stuck on top of hillsides.
Right, that's all I can cut. Oh, we just got to give it a smack with a hammer.
Excellent. Oh, did you get it?
Oh, cool. Look at that. That's what we've been after. That was a struggle, but it's worth it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just
Perfect.
clean up and there's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with that.
Whilst Claire and Tom were conducting their hedgerow autopsy, I was leaving the cold of the north and heading down to Devon, pondering the news of our snow track's past.
I can't believe it. Our snow track was no hero on the mountain. It was a softy southerner in Norfolk. It's never been near a mountain in its life.
I vow we'll introduce her to the steep slopes and white stuff as soon as she's recovered from her transplant surgery.
Hello, chaps.
Hello.
How you doing?
Well, we've been wrestling up in the muddy field, getting spare parts.
You do.
Working parts?
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Excellent.
It's all there.
All we
Right.
need to do is fit it.
Yeah, get your boiler suit on and get in the workshop.
I better go sandblasting.
Okay.
See you later.
See you later. Well, there we go. That's our bit from the top of the field.
Fantastic.
Which, getting Suggs into a boiler suit is a sight to behold, but not as good as Tom in his sandblasting kit. The bed frame he's about to attack is in fact the chassis of our snow track. For such a macho, go-anywhere vehicle, it looks a bit on the wimpy side.
Right. Let's get cleaning.
Back in the workshop, Suggs and I are busy reassembling the main drive shaft that will power the snow track up the mountain. The middle of the broken shaft we've replaced is attached to the chassis. On the inside, it's a small sprocket to take the drive from the engine and a brake drum. Outside the chassis are two massive bronze sprockets which transfer the drive to the tracks themselves. Let's just hope all the bits will go together, or come apart for that matter.
That's close
Right,
now,
don't
that's
drop
nearly
it.
there, yeah.
Hey! Oh, there you go, you got another bit to clean. Aren't you lucky? Well, there's plenty of life left in the brake shoes. Not even down to the rivet on that one. And this centre section here has been so covered in oil and grease for most of its life. There's nothing wrong with that. The only slight area of concern is the little slave cylinder here. The rubber's all perished, so we have to find a new one of those. And this pipe has definitely seen better days. So, a few new bits, but no major rebuild needed. Right, now it's all looking a bit better. Let's put it all together so we don't lose any of the bits in the meantime, while
Okay.
we're waiting for the spare parts to arrive. Ugh. Right, you hold that bit. That's it, get some lines lined up.
Okay.
It will go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Brilliant.
that bit to that
It's rather
bit.
nice, you can see some of the original paint colour now, isn't it?
That's the undercoat there. And we'll just put a nut and bolt on the top, just to keep it all together.
Great stuff. The only thing that's a bit worrying is that these look pretty knackered.
Well, you've got them back to back there, and you can actually see how much of each tooth has worn away. They're supposed to be symmetrical.
Yeah.
But sadly, the ones on the donor snow track are different. So we're going to have to find some new ones from somewhere.
So I'm not going to have to fashion them from plywood.
No. This part has got to wear out on everybody's snow track. They have to make them, so...
You think we'll be able to find some?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we will. Should we go and see how Tom's getting on?
Yeah.
The cogs are a setback, but otherwise, the rebuild is going back together better than a piece of flat-pack furniture. That is, until Tom arrived with our freshly sandblasted chassis, bearing bad news.
Well, there's our chassis. Oh, dear. Tom, this is awful.
Disaster, isn't it? Well, you can see the problems we've got here. It's corroded right through there, split right down there, a huge split underneath that we'll see later, comes right up the other side, along there, and even this is broken. So we've really just got two chassis here.
Two halves.
Two halves, but...
We don't want that. We want a
we want
whole one
one
put
whole.
together.
Absolutely.
Bit of a setback.
I think it is. It's a lot more work than I anticipated.
It's not good news, is it?
No.
It is.
Oh dear, it seems our chassis is a bit of a wimp, unable to cope with even the flatlands of Norfolk. If we're going to introduce our snow track to mountains and snowy stuff, then Tom and Claire are going to have to totally rebuild it, along with all the other things on the list. This week's challenge, the Arctic Conquering Active Snow Track, is taking a bash or two. First, we find out the chassis is about as butch as a policeman's blouse.
Oh, dear. Tom, this is awful.
Disaster, isn't it?
And then I find out it's never been near a real mountain.
No, it was sent to boring, flat, wussy Norfolk. The snow track was actually invented in Sweden, but it was thought to be the only vehicle butch enough to handle the harsh Arctic conditions the people up here in Scotland have to deal with. So, I've come here to see if I can track down someone who's actually used one in anger, someone who's got real stories to tell their grandchildren.
With Suggs on a mission, we workers are getting technical, sorting out what's left of the snow track chassis. It's quite apparent from the state of the chassis that this thing has been neglected. So it's giving us a lot more work that we really hadn't expected. I really wouldn't have thought we'd have to rebuild the chassis, but that's the way it's going. You got that?
Yep.
Before we can start cutting off the broken bits, we've got to make a record of what it's like now. If we don't pay attention at this stage, then we'll be driving a crooked snow track when we put it all back together again. Tom, you're going to have half a dozen of the most dull photographs known to man.
But they can be incredibly useful.
This
I mean,
is in
these-
such a bad state. It's unbelievable.
It's shot. Utterly shot.
This chassis is literally a bed frame, with two long steel box sections running from front to back, taking all the load of the engine, the axles and the bodywork. The problem is that those two box sections have all but corroded away.
We've got to cut this one up now.
Yeah!
Let's do it.
theatre-like. First thing in the morning, that smell of the angle grinder, the buzz of the gas axe. Who could ask for anything more? As we cut deeper into the structure, we discover that the damage is worse than we're expecting. It's pouring out.
So, I mean, look. This is incredible. Oh, look at it. The whole chassis, I bet, is full of rust. That is incredible. I've never seen as much rust inside a piece of steel as that. So again,
It's unbelievable how much rust is packed into this chassis. The whole thing is full of it. There's that. Hang on, there you go. Well, that's one side off, and hopefully as bad as it gets. But there's another side to do.
a load of rust.
We've got one side of the chassis to pieces, and now it's time to fit our brand new box section.
Right.
One brand new section of
Excellent.
box suitable for a snow track chassis.
Well, this really is a milestone. This is the turning point. From here on, it all goes back together.
Cutting up the old chassis was easy. Putting the new steel on is pretty tricky. A few fractions out in any direction and nothing will bolt back onto it. Absolutely fine, isn't it?
We will measure as well,
But
but again, it's belt and braces.
Yeah, but this is the beginning.
It
of
is the
new
beginning, this is the
snow
turning
track.
point. Completely.
It's not an obvious thing to fall in love with this. It's effectively just a beefed up car with some tracks on it. But somehow it gets under your skin. The whole shape of it, the tracks, the go anywhere sort of mentality. It's really rather good.
Here we are, Pit Lockery, where the snow's real snow and the snow tracks are real snow tracks. I'm here to meet a man who's fanatical about these butch snow warriors.
Today he lives up this track on a small holding, but Ian Harris once lived on one of the remotest hill farms in the country. Up high in the Cairngorm Mountains, he would regularly endure winters that lasted months. Without a snow track, he wouldn't have been able to care for his livestock or get in provisions for himself.
Well, you can virtually go anywhere with a snow track, you know, if it's not too rocky, really, and there's really tremendous traction, and when you're away up in these hills too, it's just really great to get equipment and gear up to some of these spots, you know, and snow track is certainly a machine for me anyway. I've had tremendous use out of them all these years, so I just kind of see past them myself, really.
And when did your love affair with them begin?
I had a job as a shepherd deer stalker up in one of the most remote places in Scotland, and in Arctic conditions normally, and in the mid-70s with tremendous winters of deep, heavy snow and without the snow track. So, you know, it would have been virtually impossible to move about. And
Do you remember the feeling when you saw the first one in operation?
Oh, absolutely, aye. They've got a grand tick over and a clickety-clack of the sprockets and tracks. I must admit, I was always a crawler vehicle fan, and the first time I saw a snow track, I thought, my gosh, that's a grand, handy machine. They look a bit flimsy, but they're not toys. They're tremendous, able machines, and when everything else is beat to move, there's the old trundle on. The more snow and the deeper the snow, the more they like it. And you can step out the back of one up to your waist in snow, and the machine itself is sitting in about, just sinking in about 8 inches, you know. There really are snow machines.
Why is it, Ian, you think we don't see so many snow tracks around these days?
Well, winters have been entirely different this last few years. I suppose it would be 8 or 9 years since we've had a really heavy winter of snow, you know, and I don't know whether it's owing to global warming, but one never knows. But it's 40 years or so since they were manufactured first, so I suppose time's rolled on, really, and it's just not so easy getting parts anymore. So I'm afraid it's just a time factor, really. That's it.
Well, we're hoping to get ours fixed up and working again, Ian. Could you recommend somewhere where we could test it around here?
Oh, I think Banshee over in the east here would be the place to go.
On the other side of that mountain?
Aye, absolutely, aye.
I think that will put it to the test.
Okay, then that's the stuff. I think they should be well underway now. There's been a good fall of snow, and things will be pretty good. I think you'll find.
Up those mountains, it looks as if we're really going to push our snow track to the limit. Those are the Cairngorms, rising to a 3,500-foot plateau. I just hope Claire and Tom are doing a good job. But before she can head north, bits of our snow track have got to head even further south.
I'm heading down to Cornwall past another great bit of engineering, one of Brunel's bridges. In the back of the motor are the tracks. They're in a bit of a state. So I've put in a call to Spock and found a vulcanizer. That's someone who knows what they're doing with rubber. These tracks are really, really tough, and we knew that we'd have to do a slight amount of repair, but seeing them unroll for the first time, we realised just what a battering they've taken. They're torn in places, the guides are twisted all over the place. They're in quite a mess, and this is supposed to be one section. Well, this section is particularly bad. It must have... And our expert with the black stuff is one Greg Page of Vulcanising Southwest. This bit is phenomenal, isn't it? It's got three patches here.
That's right. I mean, you've got a piece underneath, and obviously it's split, so what they've done is they've just put patches in to try and repair it. I imagine it's been on a while because it's actually gone mouldy, which I think it's the outside pieces that are taking all the brunt of
so it's UV light and rocks and stones and goodness knows
yeah,
what
definitely.
The tracks are made up of 3 bands of rubber held together by strips of steel called cleats. On one side, the cleats grip the snow, and on the other, they engage with the sprockets that drive them along. This is the material cut to size. The polyester fibres give it the strength, and the extra thick rubber on one side really takes the battering. Now, it's all been marked out with a template, so we know where the bolt holes go. And now I've just got to punch it out. Now, you may think this job is bad, but you ought to see what Greg's doing. When Greg said we'd punch out the holes, I thought he'd have one of those state-of-the-art machines that would do it all for you. Did the Industrial Revolution pass him by? I bet Suggs is having more fun than this.
You just concentrate on the tracks, Claire. I'm heading up to the Glenshee Ski Centre, to the place where Ian said we'd find some snow. And we've certainly got plenty of that. I know our snow track is good, but the mountains around these parts look pretty terrifying. What I need is a stocky Scotsman to settle my nerves. It just so happens that the bloke in charge of this, a chap by the name of Graham McCabe, fits the bill. Can't get more Scottish than that.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Am I meeting the man in charge of this rather awesome-looking place?
You are. Graham's the name. What can I do for you?
Graham, I'll tell you what you could do for me. We're in the process of restoring a snow track, and what we want to do, is, when it's finished, is give it a proper test. And I'm wondering, is this the place to test it?
Well, as you can see, we've got the mountains, we've got snow. Been in Scotland, can't guarantee it. But, you want to go and have a look?
Love to.
Let's go.
Graham's keen to take me up higher to see what our little snow track evolved into. A state-of-the-art, space-age, mountain-moving tracked cruiser.
Now then, that is what you call a snow track.
That's a wee bit bigger than what you're anticipating coming up here with.
Very slightly, yeah, like about 10 times. Well, it's a mountain we need to go up, Graham, and that looks very much like a mountain to me.
Well, take your pick. There's a few about here, but Cairnwell there, do you fine?
Do you think we'll get up one of them in a snow track?
If you're daft enough. So what kind of state's your snow track in just now?
A pretty bad one, I've got to say. Well, to be perfectly frank, it's in bits, pretty much all over Devon.
And you want to be going up there, innit?
Well, hopefully when it's back together, yes.
Well, remember, people go missing up here. Sometimes don't see them till springtime.
That thing has no problem with it, does it,
No, it's no bother at all.
Back down south, we've still got a lot to do before we can finally get the tracks on. I've left them for Greg to finish so I can get on with some of the other jobs back at the workshop. Turning her blood orange for a start. The next job is to work out where all those glistening panels go. And luckily, we've got the instructions. All our worries are over. We've got this fantastic exploded diagram of the snow track. If we can follow that, we can do anything.
It's the very first thing of the puzzle. That one obviously goes in like this.
mind the paintwork.
We can see all our bolts.
You just have to look at the bodywork as one large Meccano set. Nothing but rivets and bolts, not a weld in sight. It's getting the holes to line up that's the tricky bit.
Up in the mountains, I'd met up with Sergeant Tom McCallum, a former commando. During the Cold War, it seems, the snow track was the chosen vehicle to patrol NATO's northernmost flank and protect us from the Ruskies had they decided to head south.
4-5 Commando had about 120 of them, and they were the main vehicle that we used to get over the mountains.
So you were actually patrolling the furthest border, the closest border to the Russians at a time when they were actually still very dangerous.
We wouldn't have got as far as we did, as high as we did, without them. And these vehicles were heavily depended on to keep the whole commando group moving forward, and indeed the whole NATO force. So they were a very important part of our equipment to getting the men up to the forward lines and indeed over the mountains.
With its full-on blood-orange body, our snow track ain't going to be sneaking up on Russians or anyone else in the snow. But Claire and Tom are a long way from finishing.
This is the good bit. Putting these huge chunks together, our snow track looks almost finished. However, underneath here, there's still an awful lot missing. The next big job is fitting the tracks, but there's one thing stopping us. The huge bronze sprockets that will drive them are worn out, and we've not managed to replace them. What are we going to do about these sprockets?
I really don't know. We can't get new ones. The guy who's trying to get them made cannot. He hasn't got the foundry to do them in. So really at this point I don't know.
What about the donor snow track?
Oh, they're totally different. There's two different sorts of snow track. That's got different ones.
Okay, what about cutting it just from a sheet of steel?
Well, that's an option, but if you do that, unfortunately, steel against the steel tracks will simply wear the tracks out. And this is bronze for a reason. It is designed to wear and not wear away the steel, which is exactly what's happened.
So it's sacrificial and it's supposed to be replaced?
Yeah, in the old days you could get new ones, but you can't anymore.
Oh dear, this could really put a spanner in the works. Meanwhile, I've been doing the boffin bit up at Glen Shee, and what the computers are telling me is not making me a happy chappy.
Unfortunately, what we discover on the weekly weather chart is this yellowy patch, which is the warmer air moving in across Britain, and eventually it's covering it. So by the end of the week, we're very unlikely to get snow and very likely to lose the snow we've got.
The weather is something that Bob, the owner of our snow track, is blissfully unaware of. On a housing estate in Leicester, a long way from the snowy mountains of Scotland, he's dreaming about realising his boyhood ambition, to drive up a mountain in a vehicle that up till now he's only owned as a toy.
I'm going up to collect my snow track next week, book my holidays, and I can't wait. It's like a dream, and I can't really remember what it's supposed to look like. I'm apprehensive as to whether they've got it done on time. I'm looking forward to it very, very much.
Bob's holiday plans are causing us problems. Tom and Claire still have to sort out the sprockets, and our tracks are unfinished. Without them, our snow track's going nowhere, which is maybe just as well, as Graham doesn't think we're going to make it anyway.
As you reach the summit, you've got a very, very nasty, steep incline to manoeuvre, which is going to test that particular vehicle right to its
Challenge? The Swedish-built active snow track started in a garage in Leicester. Then headed down to a farm in Devon to be restored by Claire and classic car whiz Tom Hendy.
The whole chassis, I bet, is full of rust.
Now restored to her original gleaming colour, there's still about a week's work to go until she's ready for testing. There's only one problem. The one place where there's white stuff in the whole of the British Isles, Glen Shee in the Cairngorm Mountains, is going to lose it all in the next few days. So it's all hands to the pump down south.
What do we got?
Oh, Tom, you're going to absolutely love it.
Good Lord.
Two sets of tracks. Should you drag them out?
Point your toes. They're going to be heavy. Right.
Do you see it unroll? It's like rolling out the red carpet. After several weeks away, our tracks return in pristine working condition.
Look at that. There must be 700 bolts there.
I think you'll find 682.
You know, you fitted
All
them.
hand-fitted.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
So we have all the components to make our snow track rumble, but she ain't going nowhere with these dodgy sprockets. It's all worn out on one side, and the solution? These Swedes are such practical people. Just turn it around. Wear it away on the other side. It's all downhill from here on. Slowly but surely our snow track is whipped back into shape. It's not long now before we return our snow warrior back to her rightful home, the Highlands of Scotland.
Which is why Graham and I are working out a route for Bob's expedition up the north face of Cairnwell.
So realistically, Graham, what do you reckon our chances of getting up to the top there?
50-50 at best.
50-50?
Yeah, who's driving?
Not me.
That's not so bad then. Still 50-50.
Speaking of driving, Tom and Claire have begun their long journey to the Highlands. I only hope the weather holds. And with the sun rising over the mountains on the appointed day, there's still no sign of our snow track.
Yesterday we didn't know what to expect. All the snow was going to have gone, but in fact we've had a beautiful snowfall overnight, and it's a lovely fluffy surface just right for our snow track. And joining me up here is Bob and his family. How are you feeling about seeing it?
Oh, can't wait. Can't wait to get my hands on it.
It's been some time now, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It seems like a dream.
And Lucy, how do you feel about seeing it?
I feel so excited.
Do you? Good. Let's hope it works, eh?
Good.
And you, Debs, as if you're driving you mad?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, what's that?
It's unbelievable.
Not bad, is it?
Oh, she looks lovely.
How's that, Bob?
That's tremendous, that is. Is it the same one?
We went down the shop and bought a new one.
Yeah. It's nothing like the wreck that I left.
Well, have a look round, Bob, see what you reckon.
Well, Tom, you've done a fantastic job.
Did I get the colour right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I couldn't believe it when I just saw it coming over the top there.
There's your dinky toy.
Yeah, that's it. Amazing.
I love it.
You got the
It's,
headlights on as well.
They're the real McCoy. We found them.
Fantastic. The real ones too.
Does look
Well,
great.
it's sort of, it hits you, doesn't it? It
Oh,
shouts
it
at
does.
you.
Yes. Yes.
The tracks were an extensive job, I think it's
Were
safe
they?
to
Yeah.
say. There's an awful lot of nuts and bolts in those
Yes.
tracks. An
I
awful
think
lot.
I'd counted them at one time. and there were-
682.
Well, I'm impressed, Suggs. I'm impressed.
Me too.
Well, before we head up the mountain, we saved one job for you, and that's to put the stickers along the side.
Stickers.
Ooh.
With the livery on, Bob can at last attempt to fulfill his dream, to drive up the mountain.
Claire, don't forget this. In order to get to the top, you're going to need a map and a compass.
Aren't you coming with us?
You're joking. This is an untested vehicle. I'm staying here with the women and children.
Coward!
Good luck.
What Bob didn't know was that I haven't forgotten about our promise to brew him a cuppa at the top, which is why I'm freezing to death on the chairlift.
It just seems to keep going. It goes everywhere.
Right, we're going for a gear change.
It just stops dead.
Well, it's starting to get very misty up here. I do hope this isn't going to spoil our tea party.
that where we're going?
Oh, yeah.
The top? Oh, right.
All the way.
The top. It's going up.
Well, here we are, at the top of the aforementioned mountain. And it's fresh, I'll give it that.
Well, I wanted an adventure.
God, these tea bags weigh a ton. I just hope they haven't beaten me to the top.
No fear of that. We're not even sure we're going up the right mountain. Yeah, and then we swing round to the left at the top.
Okay.
Well, I think we want to be bearing right. Hang on a minute. You're gonna have to stop. You're gonna have to stop. You're gonna have to stop. I can't use the compass in there. It's all white.
Do you know much
Hey.
about reading maps, Bob? We seem to have got ourselves a bit...
No, we haven't. We're not lost.
No.
We're not lost. We're coping. We're coping. We're heading
That's the
over
top.
there.
I
yeah.
can see that.
So if we go up, further up, then that's up that gradient there.
Yeah.
And then round to the right, and we should be all right. Right, everyone back in.
Off we go.
Well, this is it. I've reached the summit. What an Englishman will do for a cup of tea. I wonder where they've got to.
Right, chaps, I think I see the top. We've either found Suggs, or it's the car park of the highest Swedish DIY store in the world.
Hallelujah!
Everybody out.
You made it!
What are you doing?
What I've been doing? I've been doing what all upstanding Englishmen should do at the top of a mountain, organising a tea party. Because that's what you said, you wanted tea on top of a mountain and you've got it. Do take a seat on the terrace.
Go on, go on.
Be
sit
off
down,
After
chaps.
you.
Congratulations to the pair of you.
Ah,
Now then,
wonderful.
shall I pour? Yes. Oh, yes. There you are, Bob.
Cheers.
Cheers. To be perfectly frank, I thought the tea would lose its kind of allure pretty quickly, so we've got something else under the table. Now then, Tom, I think you deserve a glass of this. Hey! Here's to the snow track.
Snow track.
Working in its proper environment. Bob?
Not for me, thanks. I'm driving.
Of course you are. You've got to get back down the mountain, yeah?
Somehow.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's a dream come true. And it's the best cup of tea I've ever had.
Suggs and Claire are back in 2 weeks' time restoring a World War II tank destroyer. And if you want to find out more about the Salvage Squad, visit channel4.com/science. Well, coming up, what's it like to be born both male and female? And how do the parents of intersex children deal with a condition that's so veiled in secrecy? 4's Breaking the Taboo, next.